Hi, Miss Berquist. So yeah, last video, 4th quarter, I read The Book of the Dead. It was actually pretty good. It was written by Edwidge Danticat, what name. And she was born in Haiti in 1969. And basically, it's a story of a girl. She's like a sculptress, I guess, like out of wood. So I don't know if that's sculptor or whatever. Carver? I don't know. But she made a sculpture of her dad out of wood. And this famous person down in Florida wants to buy it from her. So her and her dad go on a trip down to Florida so that they can deliver it to the famous lady at her house and stuff. And so they're staying at a hotel the night before. And then she wakes up and her dad's not there. And she's like, oh, he's just like, you know, getting coffee or getting us breakfast or something. But a few hours goes by and he's still not there. And she starts to freak out. So she tells the hotel manager and a cop, like the sheriff, I think. And so they say they'll keep an eye out. And eventually he comes back and she's like, where were you and where's my sculpture? Because also he took that with him whenever he left. And he was like, I'll show you. So he drives them to a lake and he's like, it's in the lake. And she's like, Dad, why is it in the lake? You know, she actually keeps pretty calm. Like, if it was me, I would have got really mad. But she's like pretty chill. She's just like, why is it in the lake? You know, kind of thing. And he's like, he kind of has like the feeling of like he doesn't deserve a sculpture. And she's like confused because she like looked up to her dad a lot. And so she's like, of course you do. Like, why do you think you don't deserve this? So then they sit down on like a bench by the lake and he tells her a story. And the story is that okay, back up real quick. He has a scar on his face and she thinks it's from fighting whenever he was down in Haiti. But then he tells her that he actually killed people and that everything that he said about his past isn't true. And there's a big comparison thing going on between like hunter and prey. And I guess her whole life, Ka, that's the daughter's name by the way, has thought that her father was the prey, but in reality he was more of like the hunter kind of thing because he was the one killing the people, and that's like kind of where he got the scar from. And so this kind of like shakes her up a bit because she's like, everything you've told me, like, it's not true, like, how can I trust you anymore, kind of thing. But they talk it out, and she understands, she forgives him, but I mean, things are still tense, obviously, and she is still kind of mad about the sculpture. So then they go back to the hotel room, and he takes a shower, I think, and she calls her mom, and her mom knew about it all the time. Well, not all the time, actually. He didn't tell the mom until after they had Ka. So, I don't know, kind of sketchy if you ask me, but whatever. And, so then she's kind of like, can I trust my mom, you know? Can I trust what dad's saying now? Like, how do I know it's real? So it kind of, like, shakes up, like, her perspective of the truth, I guess. So anyways, after all that happens, they go to sleep, whatever. They wake up the next morning, the day they're supposed to deliver the sculpture, and they go to the famous person's house, who's also from Haiti, by the way, so they speak Haitian. But, and they have to tell her that the sculpture isn't there, but Ka doesn't tell her what actually happened to it. They just say that she doesn't have it anymore, I think is what they said. And so anyways, the famous person doesn't get the sculpture and she's upset, but at the same time she understands. And yeah, Ka and her father leave to go back home, and that's basically the end of the story. So, I mean, overall, to sum up, it's basically the story about a girl who learns the truth about her father and how she deals with it, and how she like wrestles with like that in like in comparison to other things that she's been told her whole life and things that like are being told to her. Like, it kind of like rattles her like sense of reality, I guess. So after that summary, one of the main themes in the story is character, because Ka and her father are like heavily focused on, like, the author doesn't Danticat, yeah, doesn't really focus on like the setting as much, but she really focuses on like Ka and her father and what they go through. And one aspect of Ka's character specifically is that she is level-headed and not quick to anger, because I mean, her dad just threw her sculpture in the water, and probably took a while, and she was gonna sell it to like a famous person. You know, I would be really mad. So she keeps her head level, and the example of this is in paragraph 85. After she learns what her father has done to the sculpture, she doesn't get angry, but instead just says, okay, calmly. That's all she says. So, Yeah, another example of her calm and like level-headedness is or not an example of it, but an example of how she feels about anger and like why she doesn't get angry is when she says anger is a wasted emotion, I've always thought. So she thinks that people shouldn't spend time being angry because it's just a waste of time. You should be quick to forgive people, and that's kind of like her philosophy of life, and that's why she's able to forgive her father for lying to her for like all those years. And so that becomes like a really big part about her character and how she like reacts to her father's like truth about his past. Okay, another aspect of Ka's character is that she's very forgiving and very trusting of people, not just her father, but of people in general. And there's a few examples of this in the book, and one is those that she had just learned the truth about her father, and she's already quick to trust the old him, the father that she knew before he told the secret, before he told like what he actually did in his past. Because she says, maybe my father was wrong in his own representation of his former life, that maybe his past offered more choices than being either hunter or prey. Paragraph 144. So basically she's saying like, maybe my father isn't as bad as he's making himself out to be, because, you know, there were some choices and not everything is black and white, and, you know, sometimes you have to like do what you think is best even though it might be wrong, like, you know, stuck between like a rock and a hard place kind of situation. And and then she also brings back that the hunter and prey analogy, and saying how like basically, well, before what her father had told her, she had kind of viewed life as like black or white, hunter and prey, like you're either one or the other, like there's no really middle ground. But after hearing this from her father, she realized that there was, because there were choices that were in between that, like I said earlier, that weren't necessarily good, but they were what was best for him in that situation. And so it just shows that she was forgiving, because she was really quick to forgive him. She didn't, you know, storm off and get angry. She was just calm, you know, and she's like, it's okay, tell me why you did it, kind of thing. And also trusting, because she goes right back to trusting him. It's not like she's lost all of her trust in him totally. I mean, it's questioned, yes, but at the same time, she knows that he's her father, and she's like, no, I can still trust him. Like, he's kept this one thing from me, maybe to protect me, but she doesn't just like distrust everything he says after that. So it just shows her trustingness and her forgivingness. Finally, here's a commentary on my focus. So my focus was character, obviously, and basically I focused on Ka. Even though the father was characterized really well by Edwidge Danica, Ka was the main character and she's more heavily focused on, and I just felt that she was a better example for how Danica characterizes her characters. So first off, she is a relatable character for the reader because she has endured disappointments like everyone has. So she puts hardships into Ka's life, and she tells them like the backstory that she gives behind the whole sculpture, and what a good relationship she has with her dad just makes the whole her dad's been lying to her thing like even more impactful, and it makes it really relatable to the reader, because everybody's been through hardships, everybody's been disappointed at some point in their life, so the reader can really feel for Ka and what she's going through. Another thing that also goes with her being relatable is that she's a very down-to-earth character. Like, she's not some like for instance, the famous person is not very down-to-earth because normal people don't know what it's like to be famous, but normal people can relate to Ka, so that makes her, just the down-to-earth aspect of her makes her another well-liked and really relatable character for readers. Another thing is, though she's changed by her father's news, she ultimately has all the same characteristics she had at the beginning. So she doesn't necessarily change throughout the story, like not drastically. Like, she's changed in her perspective of her father maybe a little bit, but at the same time, she feels the same way she did about him. Like, she still loves him, and she trusts him, like we had talked about earlier with the examples in the text and everything. One thing though, she did grow in maturity after learning the truth. So she realized that everything's not black and white, not hunter and prey, like there's other choices. So she matured through this experience. As everyone else does, you know, everybody matures through experiences, so that also makes her a relatable character, because people can relate to going through things and then you come out smarter and stronger. Now going back to Ka's father, he's a dynamic character in the story because he stops hiding the truth from his daughter and becomes much more honest. So he changes from being a secretive liar, not necessarily a liar in a bad connotation, but like not telling the whole truth. And he goes from that to telling the whole truth and just being totally honest with Ka about his past. And so that makes him then a dynamic character because he changes how he talks and treats Ka. So that's a big change he went through. And while Ka is an interesting and relatable character, she is not dynamic because she stays pretty much the same, like I said earlier. She has all of the same characteristics. She doesn't... she doesn't change really because she keeps her same basic, like, foundational, like, she still thinks that anger is a wasted emotion, for instance. And she still thinks that people... like, should be forgiving and trusting, and she still sees, like, the good in everybody kind of thing. Like, she feels like everybody is good in them, even though her father, like, told her, like crazy news. So, that's the character analysis for, the Book of the Dead. It's the last video. Kind of sad, but, yeah, that's it. Bye, Mr. Request.